watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 119, Mobile XPages First Steps. It's not about technology, it's about the people. Okay, so today I am pleased to welcome Graham Akers back on the show. He is a great technology person. He's a great speaker. He's a great hockey coach, and has gotten his hockey team pretty far into their playoffs, and just does a great job with the kids. His Twitter is gakers99. There's his email, etc. And before we get into the show, I want to talk about something important. Now, I mentioned that Graham is a great speaker, and he's been on the big stage at Lotusphere/IBM Connect. But probably there's been no bigger stage than the Spark Ideas stage. And Spark Ideas are these like 5-minute presentations that the nerd girls put on, and it's about something that's important to you, something that's affected your life, some kind of story that you want to share. And he got up there and had this presentation on how cancer has affected his life. And I'm not going to go into the details as I'd rather you watch the video, because certainly I can't do it justice. But that's the Vimeo.com link there. And he's got a team of bicycle friends and stuff like that, where they ride to raise money to collect money to cure cancer. And again, I really recommend you take a couple minutes to check out that presentation. So what I would ask you to do, if you can, is send the elevator back down. Maybe make a donation to Graham's team. I did this once before, way back in Notes 945. Troy Reimers is a great friend to the community. He's a great developer, and he's an all-around great guy. And his son Matt has some challenges ahead of him. And there's a website called curingmatt.org, which I believe they take donations. And there's a couple websites, links to the Notes9 video, and then the story about Matt and his challenges with this Lorenzo's oil. So my thinking is I don't have advertising on the website, at least yet, but I haven't had it since 2009. We don't do this often or so, but if Notes9 has been of value to you, then just please consider helping some others. Whether it's Graham's team, whether it's Matt's website, whether it's some local charity in your community or so. Communities are about give and take. So keep in mind that giving to your local community or to Graham or Matt, if you're able to. And I guess I should just mention that neither Graham or Troy have any idea that I'm talking about this on today's show. So that's what I have to say about that. So thanks for listening to that. So anyway, let's talk about the demo. And Graham is going to come back on and do another similar show on getting started with mobile XPages. And I know we've kind of covered this topic a little bit, especially recently. Now Peter Presno came on and did a show on which was less demo, more just like book smarts, more like the definition of what a lot of the mobile controls are. Then Kathy Brown came on and did a pretty good getting started demo, and there may even be an older one yet or so. But I like having videos, even if they are the same topic, because you have different perspectives. I think, if someone doesn't learn as well from Kathy, maybe they'll pick it up from Graham, or maybe they'll get what they want from Peter or so. So I'm not against having very similar topics. So Graham did this presentation at MWLUG, I believe, on basically how to get started with mobile XPages, and I hope you like it.
Hi there, Graham Akers here, and this is a mobile XPages first step video. Really, it's an introduction to building mobile layers into existing Notes applications using XPages. It's based on a presentation that Jel Presh-Taylor and I did at MWLUG 2012 in Pittsburgh, and it's also something that I've wanted to do as a follow-up to the presentation that I've done at Lotusphere 2 years ago, and again at Connect this past year, where I talk about the different strategies for building mobile applications in the Notes and Domino environment. The presentations that I've done, the one that Jel Presh and I did at MWLUG, and the presentations from Lotusphere and Connect are available for download off of my resources page on my website there. And the TCO link takes you to a video presentation that was recorded at Connect of my presentation. One of the key messages out of the presentation at Connect is that if you haven't started exploring the world of mobile applications, you really need to be. and mobile controls available in XPages are a good place to start. It's not challenging to get going. We're actually going to see that in this video, but I guess one of the other things to pay attention to is that mobile XPages really, at least in my opinion anyways, aren't the kinds of things that you would use to build enterprise applications. Certainly they're going to help you get started, but there's all kinds of other tools available that are much better suited for building enterprise apps. And you know, it's going to come down to requirements and a whole variety of other things. A lot of stuff that I do touch on in that presentation that I did at Connect. But again, this is a good place to start, and there's lots of things that you need to learn about working in the mobile world that you're going to learn by taking this first step using XPages. The other thing to keep in mind, of course, is that using XPages, we're actually building mobile web pages. We're not building mobile applications per se. They're not installed on the mobile device. So given that they're web pages, of course, you need to have a network connection to the internet in order to use them, which you more or less are going to have on a mobile device anyway. The good news, though, is that just building one page is going to support multiple devices, and we'll have a chance to see what that looks like in this presentation. So really, this is where you start, right? This is the place to start your mobile education, and the whole point here, this is what Joe Pressure and I did, was to you know, our thought was that we're talking to somebody who has been in the Domino world for a while, essentially can, you know, build a notes application, forms views, all the kind of traditional stuff pre-XPages world. And now, okay, how do we take that step into the XPages world, and then even at the same time take that step into mobile applications? So you don't even really need to have strong XPages skills. Of course, a little bit of experience with XPages is going to help, but we'll take you step by step through all of that here. Okay, so talking about mobility, just some best practices before we actually get going with the demo. One of the things to keep in mind is that you want to keep your mobile layer light. And what I mean by that is that you don't have to include every single last field and every single last piece of business logic that you build into your Notes application or your Notes client application to run on a mobile device. First and foremost, your screen is significantly smaller. I think we're all pretty aware of that. But from a business standpoint, to be able to say, okay, well, I need to have the 60 odd fields that are on the screen on my Notes client available on my mobile device, that's probably unrealistic, and you're going to end up with a bunch of unsatisfied users. So it's worth thinking about what are the actual specific pieces of functionality that we want to put on the mobile device, keeping in mind that for the more complex things, it's probably more realistic to ask users to use the desktop application, at least at this point. You know, things are going to load faster, be easier to use. People will be able to understand them better. So that's worth thinking about as you're kind of deciding what you want to put into your application. The demo itself, at this point, we're going to keep it real simple and just take one view and one form from an existing application. I do want to note that this is in the 8.5.3 world. I haven't been playing around with mobile apps in Notes9 just yet, but I think this applies, so we're going to keep it at 8.5.3 at this point. And one of the things that I suggest people use is a tool called Mobilizer. This came from some research or some training material that IBM put together a couple of years ago that I was able to acquire. And Mobilizer is a free tool. It's built on Adobe Air, and basically it's a simulator. So it's a tool that you can say, I want to see what this mobile web page looks like on an Android device or a BlackBerry device or an iPhone 4 or an iPhone 5, and we'll take a look at that in the demo. But that's something that I also recommend that you take a look at. Okay, let's take a look and see what this application actually looks like. All right, so here's the demo. And if you missed the presentation that Joe Pressure and I did at MWLUG, this is all based on a website that I built for my dad, who is an old chainsaw geek that I built in Domino 12 years ago, called the Chainsaw Collector's Corner. And I won't spend a lot of time digging through it. Certainly it's available on the web if you want to find it at britech.ca/cscc.nsf. I will be working on a XPages desktop version for this site in the very near future, but in the meantime, here's what it looks like in traditional old Lotus Notes, Lotus Domino. And for our example, we're going to take a look at the manufacturer. So here's what the manufacturer's list looks like just in the regular browser. And as you can see, it's traditional old Lotus Domino design. Okay, here's Mobilizer. And Mobilizer gives you the ability to just put in the URL that you want to take a look at, and then pick the kind of phone that you want to see it on. So here's what it looks like on an iPhone 5, and it loaded it up on the wrong screen. There we go. So pretty much looks just like an iPhone would look, and there's all of our list of manufacturers. Now the thing to keep in mind is that we have two columns in our traditional Notes views, both Notes client-based and browser-based. And in your mobile controls, it turns those columns into rows or sections of a row. So you have to be very careful about how many rows you want to put into a view on a mobile device, and this goes back to what I was talking about in terms of keeping your design light. If you've got 8 columns in a view, you really need to think about which of those columns you want to incorporate into your mobile application, and is every last single one of them valid to be included. I don't show categorized views here. We'll save that for a future video, but this is pretty much just your standard vanilla. And when you choose it, there's our form. Nothing terribly exciting, but it illustrates how it all works nicely. We can scroll down, and here's the neat thing about this one. This is your show more. So you can control how many rows show up in the view from the control that you use to put this into your mobile page that we'll look at in a minute. And you can include a pager that just adds more rows from the view. So if you think about it from a mobile standpoint, you don't want to download all of that content to the mobile device immediately. So you give the user the ability to say, okay, if I want to get to more of this, then give me a show more. Obviously, you can put in something like a search if you really wanted to. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to show that in this version, but we'll probably get to that in a future version of the video series. Okay, so that's it. Looking at it in Mobilizer, and here's the neat thing. You can say, we don't want to look at that anymore. Let's take a look and see what it looks like in a Samsung Galaxy. And it's going to take a second, and here we go. It loads up a Galaxy look and feel, same kind of functionality. And we can close that and say, show it to me on a BlackBerry. And the BlackBerry will load up, and there's the look and feel of the BlackBerry. Okay, one other thing to show, and you certainly don't need to use Mobilizer to do your testing. You can absolutely use any of your browsers to do your testing as well. The neat thing about this is that it recognizes and uses a different theme. It uses more of a black theme than a white theme. So that's one of the things that the Domino server does on the fly for you. But you'll notice that in terms of using Firefox here, I've actually shrunk it down. So there's nothing wrong with loading it up full screen. And this actually gives you perhaps an iPad feel for what your application is going to look like, or what your mobile web page is going to look like. But if you want to get a sense of what it's going to look like on a mobile device, you can shrink it down. And the other thing to keep in mind is widths of different things as you're doing your designing. Pushing stuff in, it ends up starting to wrap and not necessarily looking terribly nice. Okay, there's the demo, so we'll move on to see how we actually build this thing. Okay, so some quick thoughts on setup before we actually get into Domino Designer. Obviously, you need to enable the extension library in order to use the mobile controls, and that's in the application properties page under Advanced and XPage Libraries, and here's a quick little screenshot of that. So you just need to make sure that that checkbox is checked, and then save your changes. And then you need to set the mobile prefix, and this is done in the xsp.properties file, which is a little bit hidden. You need to use the Package Explorer. It's in the web content folder, and the entry that you put in is xsp.theme.mobile.pageprefix equals, And in this case, we're using M underscore, which is recommended. It's kind of a general best practice. You can use whatever you want there, but just in terms of universality and having different people look at the designs, the general approach is to use a prefix of M underscore. The idea there is that this is what applies the theme to the X page, so it tells it to make it look like it's running on a mobile device. And as you saw in the demo, it could show that look and feel in a browser too. And here's where you go for that. So in your Domino Designer, under Windows, Show Eclipse Views, Package Explorer brings up the Package Explorer tab. I'll show this in Domino Designer in a second. Then you find XSP.properties, change to the source view, add the entry there, and then save your changes. A couple of quick thoughts around mobile development concepts. A mobile site in XPages is contained entirely in one single X page. Now you can kind of go around that, but general best practice is one single X page, everything in it in terms of all of the different pages that you might want to put into your mobile website. And this also comes back to the keep it simple approach, or think about building a light application. If you, again, getting into enterprise level applications that have multiple views, multiple forms, and so on, it can get really hairy really quick. So keeping in mind that it's all going to be contained in one X page is important at the start. Certainly you can use custom controls, and that's definitely a recommended best practice to help you break things up and kind of manage it all. In terms of how it's constructed, there's a single page application control that I'll show you, and then each separate page in your mobile website is a mobile page control. That's the basic building block. We'll look at that in a second. But the bottom line is, in terms of best practice, you really want to kind of plan out all of the content that you're going to have in your mobile website before you get too far into building. And I would certainly suggest, just like I do in this demo, start with one view and one form. That's all we're going to look at how to build today, and it's easy, straightforward, simple, not complex. But very quickly, like if you wanted to put in 5 different views and a couple of different forms, you have 7 mobile page controls that you got to pay attention to, all on the same single page application, X page, and it gets a little bit hairy. So certainly start simple is very much a recommendation as you're getting into X pages for mobile, and build up from there. Okay, so like I said, the mobile page control is your basic building block. It's the thing that you will have, from a design standpoint, contain everything that shows up on one page in your mobile website. It's going to house your navigation. You're going to put views in it. You're going to put documents in it, whether they're editable or read-only, static content. Everything goes all in a mobile page control when you build it. And just the last point there to keep in mind, mobile page controls do not ever get put within other mobile page controls. They're all kind of top level. And the thing to think about there, or to compare to there, I guess, is the fact that a simple repeat control in XPages can be nested. You can have repeat controls within repeat controls within repeat controls. In the mobile world, mobile page controls will never be put one within the other. Okay, here's just a quick picture. You're going to start with a mobile page control. That mobile page is going to have a page heading that helps with navigation. And then you've got a section of it for whatever content it is that you want to display, whether that's a view or a form or a document or static content or whatever it is. That's how we're going to build each page. And then we're going to use the properties of those pages and page headings to build the navigation so that everything flows. All right, so let's get into Domino Designer. Actually, one note quickly before we do that is the version of the extension library that you want to be running. The version that was released on June 6th, 2012 has quite a number of bug fixes in it, including one specific to mobile that reared its ugly head for me last week with one of my clients, and it's basically a paging back and forth bug where if you're paging between views or in your navigation, there's a refresh that wasn't quite working properly. So I would certainly recommend that you have at least the version of the extension library from June 6th or one newer than that. So that's just a quick tip. All right, so like I just pointed out, Under Application Properties in your Notes app, go to the Advanced tab, scroll down, and just make sure that your extension library is selected, and that makes those controls available to your application. And then in Package Explorer, you can find the application that you're working with. Jump down to Web Content and the xsp.properties file, flip over to Source, and here's where you make sure that the mobile theme is set. Again, to be able to view that window, Show Eclipse Views, Package Explorer. Okay, so let's build an X page. We're going to create a new X page. It's going to be m_demo. And as I said before, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to the mobile controls, and we're going to grab a single page application, and we're going to drop it onto our page. Now, selected page name is the thing that we got to come back to and enter a value in once we set up our mobile page that is going to be the first page that's displayed when our application loads. So let's get to that here. We have a mobile page. We're going to drop into facet there. That's going to be our view. We can actually take and drop as many additional mobile pages as we want, and you'll notice what I'm trying to do is right there, trying to get it to drop in so that it sits behind as opposed to inside of the mobile page that I'd put in there before. And if we take a look at it here, we have our single page application, and then we have a mobile page control, and we have another mobile page control sitting next to it. As I said, we can put in the page heading as well. So we'll drop in a page heading for this guy and a page heading for this guy. So what you can see is we're starting to take some shape here with our navigation. You know, most applications are probably going to have some kind of a menu on the home screen, whether that's a list of a couple of buttons or you can use static line item controls. We're not going to use that today, but those are the things that you can use to build a menu if you wish. We're going to go straight to a view. So our first mobile page, I'm going to give it a page name of View Manufacturers. And that, if we copy it, is what we're going to tell our single page application to load when this comes in. Our other mobile page, as you might guess, is going to be Form Manufacturers. Okay. Let's hit save on that. So what is our page title? Well, it's going to be Chainsaw Manufacturers. And we don't really need to worry about anything else in that page heading control. Because this is our first page, we don't have to think about navigation or anything like that to send back. But if we go to our manufacturer page, so this is a manufacturer, it's going to be our form, we do want to be able to navigate back from here. So the back property is just the word that's going to go into the button that we're going to use. Move to is the mobile page that we're going to go back to, which is View Manufacturers. And we can actually say how do we want to navigate to that. So there's a transition, and I like to use slide. All right. So we've built our navigation now without any content, and let's move on to actually putting some content in here. So we want to put a view in. So we don't have a view control in mobile, but we do have an extension library. And in fact, you can use any view, but the one that that works nicely is the data view control. And this is something also that you want to just put to the side of as opposed to directly in the mobile page control facet there. And we want to choose the manufacturer's view. Very simple, just drop it in and say OK. Now if you haven't seen this before, this is a significantly different looking view than what's in the core controls or the container controls. It's standard XPages. I'm not going to spend any time explaining it. There are other people out there on the web much smarter than me that have spent time describing it, and I certainly recommend that you seek out their videos. To keep it real simple, we'll just jump right in. This control you're going to use well, you can control right here the number of rows. We'll just leave it at the default, which is 30. But we want to add our columns. So the first column is the summary column. That will always show up first in the data view control, whether you're looking at it through a browser or notes client or whether you're actually using the mobile controls. This is column 1, for example. And in this case, it's manufacturer. Let's just jump over to the views here. Here's our manufacturer's view. So it's whatever the column name is that you've built into the view. If it's a view that is used in the mainstream application and there's a space in the column name, I would recommend building a hidden view. Just make a copy of it, build a hidden view, and make sure there are no spaces in any of the column names. As well, any columns that you have that might be categorized or otherwise set up in such a way that they don't have a column heading, I would recommend that you put a column heading in, and again, that would be a good reason for making it a hidden view, obviously. So in our case, we want to use the manufacturer and the location. So the first summary column, going back to it there, is manufacturer, and we don't have to actually worry about anything else at this point anyway. We can do styling and stuff like that if we want to, but I'm not going to worry about that. Then we want to add an extra column, and that extra column is location. And for all intents and purposes, we're done there, other than we want to put some navigation in here, and we can go back to the extension library controls again. And you'll remember from the demo there was a pager. So we can grab the pager add rows control and drop it into the bottom facet there. And that's going to give us the ability to page down like we were seeing in the demo. Okay, so one other thing to do here now is we need to tell it what form to use when we want to open one of the documents when the user selects it in the view. So form manufacturers. All right, now let's build our manufacturers. This is, we're going to put in under mobile a rounded list. And a rounded list is essentially just a content placeholder, but it's got some formatting to it that's of value to have. One thing to keep in mind, this is a bit curious, in the controls, the name of the control is rounded list. When you drop it into your X page, it becomes a rounded rectangle, and it still has a properties name of rounded list. And when we look at it in source, it's a rounded rect list. Just not to be confusing or anything, but there's a whole variety of names that this control seems to go by, and essentially it's all the same thing. Okay, so to get our form, this is getting back to kind of standard domino stuff. We're going to drop a panel into our rounded rectangle, and we're going to plug that panel into a form, our manufacturer profile. And we're just going to say open document here. Okay, and then we're going to flip over, and we've got some fields that we can drop in. We'll just grab them all and drop them into the right spot here. And instead of edit boxes, we're going to make these computed fields, and we don't need to have a submit button or anything like that. Let's change this just a location. And let's just take that right out. Okay. So here we go, nice and simple. 3 fields, a couple of rich text fields. And one other setting that we need to remember in the properties of the form mobile page. Let's get our properties here. We need to remember to reset content. So what this says is reload when you come back. In other words, if we're in a view and we choose to look at a particular form, then we go back to the view and we choose a different row, we want to reset the content so that we actually show the different information in the document. Okay, so we've built that. Let's go have a look and see what it looks like. We go back to our iPhone, and up it all comes. And here's an illustration of what we just showed. So we've got AB Corporation. We go back and we choose AC. and AC comes up. So that's the result of hitting that reset content. Also, we can scroll down. We see our show more, days of industries. We get exactly what we're looking for. Now you'll notice here, this is an image in one of the documents that's in the Notes database. So you've got some formatting issues to pay attention to when it comes to images and whatnot. And I'm not intending to talk about those at all here, but just to call it out. These are the kinds of little things that need that extra attention to detail. Like I say, in terms of learning XPages, it's a good place to start for mobile. When we get into enterprise applications, there's lots of other detail to pay attention to. But again, this is a good place to start. So just as a reminder here, let's take a look at our XPage as we wrap things up. So m_demo is what we built. And again, we've got one single page application control. We've got a mobile page and another mobile page. Each of those mobile pages has a page heading, and then they've got some kind of content. In this particular case, we've got a data view control that's outside of the mobile controls. It's an extension library control. And then we've got our rounded list and just our regular form that we're using to show our manufacturer details. Nice and simple. Again, a very good place to start. So to wrap it up, I will offer, certainly, if you have any questions on how things work, by all means reach out to me through email, through my Twitter account, or even through giving me a call, the number you can get off of my website. Thank you very much.
And that's the demo. I thank Graham for coming on, and if you have any questions for me, here's my information, and I thank you for your time.